Hit that thumbs up for my man. Washington in the Super Bowl.
Welcome in, Washington fans. I wanted to come on here to talk about Landon Collins because I feel like I may be wrong about Landon Collins. Let me elaborate. So, when we first signed Landon Collins a couple years ago, I was a huge fan of the signing. I mean, when you sign an all-pro caliber kind of player to a big contract, your natural reaction is to be excited because you think, oh, what this guy did for his previous team is what you're expecting him to do for your team, i.e. Josh Norman. So when we did this with Landon Collins a couple years ago, he was coming off of an all-pro season, and I thought we were getting that all-pro player. Now, Landon Collins signed an $85 million contract for, I want to say, 5 years. And the first year into that contract, it wasn't off to the best starts for Landon Collins. He was a liability in coverage. He wasn't really tackling. And remember, tackling was his strong suit. He was taking poor angles, and he really wasn't looking like the Landon Collins from New York. And that could due to him being really one of the only playmakers and superstars on that defense at the time, and just him trying to do too much. Now, Landon Collins last year tore his Achilles, unfortunately, versus Dallas Cowboys, so that ended his 2020 season. But I'll be the first to tell you this. I think that season was on the same path as his 2019 season. Now, he did make a couple good plays in the Arizona Cardinals game where he had an interception, but I didn't see anything drastic that said, oh man, he figured it out. He got it now. But we fast forward to the 2021 offseason. Landon Collins comes back from a torn Achilles, which is an injury that ranges from 9 to 12 months. That right there let me know Landon Collins is on a mission. When Landon Collins stepped foot on that football field in training camp this past summer, everyone was like he was looking the best. Landon Collins was flying around. He was making plays on the ball, had a couple interceptions, and you guys know how I feel about Landon Collins. I don't hate Landon Collins as a football player because I just hate on the guy. I expect a lot out of Landon Collins because of that big contract he's had. I'm so hard on him. That's just me. That's just how I am as a fan. If we're signing you to this humongous contract, I expect you to live up to that humongous contract. Now, I understand you're going to have games where you're not your best, but when you coming off of a terrible season like Landon Collins did, I was expecting a lot. And I'm going to be like this for all the other big names that we signed. Curtis Samuel, although it's not the amount that we signed Landon Collins to, I'm expecting big things out of him because we went out of our way to sign you to a good contract that's going to change your life and take care of your family. And I'm going to be like that for Chase Young, Montez Sweat. I'm going to be like that for our future quarterback that we signed. That's just how I am as a person. I'm hard on you because I want you to be successful and I want you to succeed. So, fast forward back to training camp 2021. Like I said, Landon Collins was flying around the ball. Landon Collins was doing everything that I thought he was going to do from the jump when we signed him. And that kind of made me raise my eyebrow. At the time, I was still on my Landon Collins train of not liking the guy because he's not living up to the contract. Once again, I don't hate the guy as a person. I just want him to be better because we signed him to the contract. So I was still on that time. But after I seen this guy play in the preseason, and I knew it wasn't that much, I was like, oh yeah, Landon Collins might be in for his best season yet. Now, it's going to be hard to live up to that all-pro season that he had in New York, but I'll be the first to tell you, and if you're on the same train as me as hating Landon Collins because he's not living up to that contract, let me stop saying the word hate because, like I said, I don't hate the guy. But if you're on the train of, not really supporting Landon Collins just yet because you're still skeptical about him, you might want to change your opinion. And I'm the best guy to take that advice from because I'm just like you. But Landon Collins, man, he's on the up. Now, let me slow down just a little bit because he hasn't done much for us just yet. And he hasn't done nothing in the regular season just yet. But I can tell you, this is a whole new Landon Collins. Now, I don't know if it's rare, but I would like to think that it's rare. A guy that's coming off of a terrible injury like a torn Achilles to be moving like that, I thought injuries would never make you the same. You know, I mean, and let me say it like this, because when you look at torn ACLs, 9 times out of 10, for some reason, the player always comes back better than what they were. But when you look at torn Achilles, the most memorable being Kobe Bryant, he was never the same. And maybe that's due to old age or whatever, because he sustained that injury later in his career. But then you look at the most recent one that we could think of in the sports world, at least that I could think of on top of my head in the sports world, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant tore his Achilles, and he came back better than ever. I mean, this guy was lighting up the playoffs last year. He had, even though he really was on load management and wasn't playing every single night in the regular season, he was lighting it up. But in the postseason, he was lighting it up. He single-handedly carried the Brooklyn Nets in that series versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And people can say whether you agree with me or not on this one. They may have beat Milwaukee if they were 100% healthy, but Kevin Durant was single-handedly dominating the Milwaukee Bucks. They couldn't find an answer for him. But moral of the story is the guy came off of a torn Achilles, and he was amazing. Landon Collins. That brings me back to my next point. And I know Kevin Durant and Landon Collins are totally two different players, but I would like to think of this trend of players being better coming off of a torn Achilles. I would like to think Landon Collins is going to be the next good one, because he's looked really well in preseason and in training camp. Like I said, I'm open to eating my words about Landon Collins. I want to eat my words about Landon Collins because I want him to be good. It's not like I want him to be bad. Why would I want him to be bad? He plays for my favorite NFL team. I just have high hopes for the guy. I'm hard on him because I expect a lot out of Landon Collins, and I think this is the year Landon Collins will live up to the hype or live up to that contract that I'm holding him up. Now, you may be holding Landon Collins on a whole different kind of pedestal than I am, but like I said, again, I'm holding him on a high pedestal because we paid him so much money. He was an all-pro, so we know he can do it. It's there. It's not like it's been done. We know he can do it, and I think this is the year he's back to his old New York Giants self. So I'm very, very excited about Landon Collins, and like I said, I may be wrong about my opinion on Landon Collins, and trust me, I want to be wrong. So once again, I think Landon Collins is going to be in for his best season yet, or second best season behind that All-Pro season. Hopefully, we can get an All-Pro season from Landon Collins. As always, it's me, your boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe. Help to the Watch the Football team. I'm out. Peace.
Cross me one time, that's gonna get you pop, get you drop.